Good news, everyone. Bernac here, and I've got another video here for you today. Alright, in today's video, this is going to be a continuation of my previous registration, where I showed you how to register using a piece of woodblock and the little metal clips. Basically, the print I did with my Lum Invader. This one, you remember correctly, and how I adjusted everything using little shims of paper right here. Now, full disclaimer on this print, I want to let you know this has taken me 3 weeks to do because I was letting colors dry between each layer that I printed for the most part. So I would print a color and wait 2 to 3 days before I print it again. And why is that? That's because sometimes when your ink is wet, and I ran into this problem multiple times, is that when you go to print another color on top of it, it will lift some of the previous color up, making everything look more transparent. So first off, I want to say this is actually the third attempt I've made at printing this print in the full 9 colors, 7 blocks. Mostly because I did things wrong. So let's see here. So the first time I did it, you can see here, I mean, it looks fine to you. Can we get closer? I don't know. You can see right there the eyes and the eye shadow. I printed the blue over the black. That was the first mistake I made. Also, the green wasn't coming out very well, and I was really unhappy with it. So I ended up printing the green twice, which just made more problems. And overall, I was not happy with this. To most people, this would probably be pretty good, but I was not happy with it. The second time I did it, I decided to experiment. And I used, right here, I mixed calcium carbonate in with the green, hoping to make it more opaque. Because what calcium carbonate is, it's called whiting, or French chalk, I believe. There's a couple different names for it. Basically, though, it's an inert white pigment, meaning anything that you add it to paint-wise, it's going to make that paint more opaque. So if you have really transparent paints, let's say, or inks like your phthalos, which are notoriously transparent, you add this to it, it's going to make it more opaque without changing the tone of the ink. So you'll keep the same tone of the ink, it just becomes more opaque. They use this in, what do they call it? Gouache. This is what they use in gouache to make everything look opaque. The other thing that calcium carbonate here does is it makes things matte. So most ink has a little bit of a glossy sheen to it. When you're working on a thin layer like this, it loses some of the gloss, so it's negative. It doesn't really matter. It kind of negates it out. But because it was just so flat, I also made the ink really thick because I had to use a ton of it to get it to the opacity levels that I needed. And at that point, it became even more difficult to use the ink. It became so thick that I couldn't roll it out very well. And then, of course, I wanted to try and thin it down. That, of course, made it more transparent. So I was basically fighting a losing battle on it. And I decided I would just go back and do something else. So on my third attempt here, which is my third attempt, this is the attempt that I'm going to be doing today, I decided to try something else. So I went back and looked through all my old stuff here. Now this is a small quarter-pound can of Daniel Smith Permanent Green Relief ink. This is traditional oil-based relief ink. I don't normally use it because it's very difficult to clean up. I don't like using it. And then I don't have any traditional white ink. I just have my water-soluble oil ink. Now they're both used used linseed oil. And then there's a chemical added to this. So chemically, for the most part, they will mix. And according to the chemist at Daniel Smith, they are allowed to mix. What happens if you mix them? You lose your water miscibility. This is not going to clean up anymore with soap and water. So I basically still had to use vegetable oil and simple green to clean everything, which, still a disaster, but it did get me the color I wanted for the hair, and it made it more opaque. Even though this ink is very opaque, I wanted to make it even more opaque, so I added a little titanium white, which is a very incredibly opaque white. So it lightened the color to the shade that I wanted to get, and then boosted the opacity. So now I kind of told you what my problems were with this print. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fast forward through everything so you guys can see me printing all the colors. Now, when I did this print originally, I said 9 colors, 7 blocks. So I combined colors, or I combined blocks and colors on blocks. Specifically, I combined on here, when you look at it, the blue in the eyes and the eyeshadow up here and the red of the lips are on one block. You'll see me using the Mylar to do all that previously, but the other one is the pink in the mouth here and the black highlights in the hair. And that's another thing I also did, was you can kind of see in here, you can kind of see some of the green showing through around the black. So I also went into my block here. This is the black block with the pink mouth. Printed the mouth first, and then once everything had dried, I gone over and reprinted the black. I also carved away on the green block a lot of material. So that way this won't have as much of a problem as the other stuff. So that way you don't see as much of the green around the fingers and things like that. You'll also notice I have this little bottle here, and this is just Windex, and then I'm using Q-tips here I will ink the entire thing, and then I'm going to clean off just a little bit of area right here. I'm just going to clean off this right here, the mouth area, so that way it doesn't print black over my pink. Well, everyone, let's look at my finished print here. It didn't turn out as well as I wanted. I got to do some more fixing, but overall it's pretty okay. So we got it here. We got the black on top of the blue like I wanted. The color in the fingers is okay. I still got to go in and probably carve a little bit more out around this area right here. But overall, I would call this a very successful print. I'm much happier with it than my previous relations of it. It's just overall, I was just really unhappy with it before. But I'm happy with it now. It looks good. I will put these up for sale in my Etsy, and I'll continue to work on it maybe a little bit more. But for now, I'm calling it good, and I'll go on to my, because this is going to be the first in my Sunday series, and I'm going to do a couple other Sunday characters in this 5x7 format using multiple colors, because I'm going to push myself and do them. Stay tuned for the next one. Another one, I want to thank you for following along. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, give me a thumbs up down below. If you have any questions, post them down below. I will answer them. Again, you can always follow me on my Instagram, my Tumblr, or my Twitter. The links are down below. And you can always support me by visiting my Etsy shop and buying a print. Until next time, everyone, thanks for joining along.